You mentioned new offensive line coach. Andy Dickerson replaces Bill Callahan. Dickerson talked about his coaching style.
When you think about it, there's different techniques, but there's maybe a variation. But again, if everybody's built different, like DeJuan's different than Jax, than Jed, you got the different guards, everybody's different. Joel, again, guys who have success and have done things that worked, then you can work with them because everybody's a little different. I'm not as, try not to be like, hey, here's the starting point, here's what we're trying to get done with it. But again, if some people can go near leg with something and some people have to open up a hip and then get vertical, then you work with the guys to help them be successful. Everybody's a little different. So as long as the job's getting done, the technique's getting executed, it may look a little different by person, but again, the scheme and the technique and those things that'll go together that work. So it's just a matter of trying to work with the guys who, everybody moves and bends a little differently. So it's just not, to me, it's not a cookie cutter. You got to work with guys to get them to get the best out of themselves.
And Jeff, the other thing is Andy Dickerson, we heard from him earlier in the week. He coached with Bill Callahan. He's not trying to reinvent the wheel. Those are all good things. That's the more I hear from Andy Dickerson, the more I like to hire.
Well, and this is one nice. And look, the Browns last year, 2023, was the worst collective year for the Browns offensive line during, the Berrien Stefanski regime. So if there was ever a time where maybe it was, hey, we'd rather keep Bill, but, there is this odd situation here. And as much as everybody, was hoping maybe it wouldn't happen, I would do it for my kid. I'm sure you would do it for your kid. And almost everybody would do it for their kid. It wasn't necessarily the worst time for a change within the Browns offensive line and maybe having a new guy, leading them because there were a lot of injuries. The offensive line didn't play as well overall. There was some change with a guy like DeJuan and, such this special talent. And now this will be, more in the hands of Dickerson to develop. And certainly guys that, that were drafted, certainly Zeitler, this is going to be, Zittler, this is going to be Zinter, rather, this is going to be somebody for him to hopefully make this jump. So there's a lot there. There really is. But you like what you hear. And I think the one thing that you do hear with this, as opposed to, Bill Callahan is, we're talking about a guy who's significantly younger. He's not, hasn't really lost his chops so much as far as, when it was like to be a player. Bill could just come in and command the room and say, look, I've coached X amount of Pro Bowlers, X amount of All Pros, Hall of Famers, you're going to do it the way I said, because here's my track record and you better listen. Whereas Andy's going to come in probably more as a guy who's closer in age, can relate a little bit better, and kind of remembers what it's like to, have to take on, maybe a 330-pound defensive tackle where somebody missed an assignment and you've got to basically say, I've got to do everything I can to save my quarterback's life.